I often recommend people that in order to improve the vocabulary, a good way is to read a lot of online newspapers like the BBC or the Guardian, but they have to spend a lot of time looking up all those new words in the dictionary. Please don't do that because don't waste your time looking up all the new words that you see in one newspaper article. Two, pay attention to words that you keep seeing again and again. I still remember about 2 years ago when I first started learning the IELTS. I usually just got like 6 or 6.5, or if I got lucky, I was really frustrated and I kept wondering where I went wrong, why my score did not improve. For 1 month, I decided that I will be more hardworking. For just 1 month, my score improved massively. I got 8.5. For the first time, I got 8.5 in the IELTS reading test. 2. Pay attention to new vocabularies that you think can replace the words that are common and being overused. Don't rely on only IELTS materials like reading or listening to get new words. You cannot improve your vocabulary in this way. I know a lot of people who only do the IELTS listening or reading or writing tests as a way to improve their vocabulary or as well as their levels of English. They do not watch any channels or videos or read books or read newspapers in English. I often have to read or listen about things that I do not really care about. Like, read widely everything. Vocabulary is everywhere. I believe the only way for you to improve your vocabulary in the fastest way is to immerse yourself totally in English. There's no shortcut to improve your vocabulary. The fastest and the most reliable way to improve your vocabulary is to immerse yourself in English. Listen to music in English, read newspapers and online articles in English, change the language of your phone to English. Everything you do it in English. And today, I'm going to talk about vocabulary. I really love vocabulary. I love the feeling when I see a new word and that word is so exciting and I try immediately to use it in my writing and speaking. And that is another new word that I have just learned yesterday and now I try to use it. I'm gonna take you on my personal journey as to how I myself have improved my vocabulary level. So now I'm gonna tell you some things that I do and I do not do when learning vocabulary. When people see some new word, the first thing they do is look it up in the English Vietnamese dictionary. So I highly recommend that when you see an unfamiliar word, the first thing you should do is to look it up in the dictionary and check out the sentence examples so you can see the context in which the word is used. This is the best way to get a clear understanding of what the word really means and how to use it in proper situations. I cannot figure out how to answer this question. This means that I cannot find out how to answer this question despite a lot of trying. So all in all, when you see a new word, it is very important not only to check out the Vietnamese meanings of that word, but also the related examples and context. Therefore, you can know exactly how to use it in proper situations. This is so obvious. You need to have a good English Vietnamese dictionary so that you can know the Vietnamese meanings of some English words. After I finish with my IELTS reading, I often come back to the text and check out the meanings of all the English words that I don't know. And then I try really hard to translate all the passages into Vietnamese. And gradually I know more and more words, and my vocabulary level has greatly improved. This can be very beneficial, not only for your IELTS reading, but also for your IELTS writing. One way to remember new words better is to learn them in phrases so that you can recall them better in the future. Apply new words I just learned right away into my daily life, from writing to speaking. This is the most important thing I want to tell you in this video. This is the main reason, the primary reason why I can remember a lot of good vocabulary. That is because when I come across a new word or phrase, I will try to use it, apply it immediately into my daily life. When I have to write a Facebook status, do an essay in English, or talk to my students, I will try immediately to use the words that I've just learned. By using the words or phrases you have just learned immediately into your daily life, those phrases or words will get into your long-term memory, and in the future you can recall them anytime easier. To improve your vocabulary, that is, you need to apply the words you have just learned right now into your daily life, from writing to speaking. And people often ask me on tips on how to speak better in the IELTS. There are so many tips on the internet about how you can improve your IELTS speaking. For many people who have to speak in English, they have to translate everything from their mother tongue to English in their head. But when you think in English, you will eliminate all of that. You might not need good vocabulary or grammar right now, but you need to train your mind to think in English more often. How can you speak in English when you are living right now in Vietnam, where everyone else is speaking Vietnamese? This is a beginner step, which is very easy. So you see, there are so many things you are familiar with in your mother tongue, but when it comes to English, you're not that familiar. So when you first begin to think in English, it might be extremely difficult because you are not just used to using English to express yourself. Right now, I am making a video. I am feeling great because I have more than 8 hours of sleep last night, so I am feeling very refreshing. For example, when I wake up, I often think like, this is a great day. I am feeling good. Another way for me to practice thinking in English and speaking more is that I use my personal assistant on my phone, which is Siri. Siri, remind me this Sunday that I have a wedding to attend.
Okay, I'll remind you.
After all, you should push yourself to speak English even though it is really difficult to break out the habit of thinking and speaking in your mother tongue. Okay, let me ask you a question. Many of you have learned English for a very long time and but you still cannot speak English in a fluent way. Then do you dare to make a difference here? You do not think more and speak more in English, nobody is going to know which errors you have and how to correct them. And you will never know about them because no, I did not listen to a lot of IELTS practice tests. Quite the contrary, I think. How could I achieve band 9, the maximum score for IELTS listening? I'm gonna tell you the truth why I got the maximum score for IELTS listening, which is band 9. First of all, I need to make it clear that I did not listen to a lot of IELTS practice tests when I prepared for the IELTS exam. Well, my secret is that I listen and watch a lot of things in English. I watch TV shows in English, I listen to music in English, I work with books written in English. When I entered university, I had a lot of free time and I tried really hard to immerse myself in English for more. That is, some people complain that they cannot hear the words clearly and correctly. I would replay the tapes again to analyze why I answered those questions wrong and especially to learn which words I have mispronounced that led to my mistakes. Recently, there has been a lot of good news in my life. More and more people have contacted me to sign up for my IELTS courses in Hanoi. I'm learning to manage my time and my work schedule better and more efficiently. I'm trying to strike a balance between my work and leisure. I like taking all the opportunities that I can have. Before that, my life was pretty miserable. I come from a small town and I come from a family with not so many favorable conditions. My mom and my dad work in a factory. They have been working hard all their lives to provide for me and my sister. I remember in my childhood, I had to find English classes and English teachers on my own to attend. So I had to do everything on my own regarding English study. Anyway, from time to time, I thought about studying abroad, but then I told myself that would be impossible. Where could I find the money? I'm not privileged. I could not tell you how many times in the past I blamed my circumstances. I used to wish my parents to be wealthier so they could afford me studying abroad. I read on the internet about some young people whose parents are like professors or ambassadors or crazy rich businessmen who taught their kids English ever since a really young age. And I wish my parents to be like that. And I wish my parents to be like that so that my life would not be so difficult. So basically, whenever I failed at something, I just give the blame. I just gave the blame to the people around me, to my circumstances, and to my conditions. And I told myself it was them that made me fail. But now everything has changed. If I want something, I have to go get it. That was a pivot point for me because that was a point when I decided to take control of my own faith and create my own opportunities instead of just waiting there and, waiting for miraculous thing to happen. I'm close to saving enough money for my overseas study next year. My hard work and efforts finally paid off. I know many of you guys out there are just like me. You might be feeling frustrated, exhausted, and tired of trying and failing and trying again. I hope you have all the strength you need to carry on. Because if you profoundly, strongly, firmly believe in what you're doing, you're going to get it eventually. I guarantee it. And if you still don't know what you're gonna do, just do everything. Find it. Find what you're good at and do it. Recently, a lot of people have been asking me about IELTS Speaking Part 3, and I realized that I haven't done any videos about that yet. So in today's video, I'm gonna provide you with some tips on how to do well in the IELTS Speaking Part 3. Before we begin, you need to know something first about IELTS Speaking Part 3. The examiner will ask you some questions and you answer back and forth. The topics in this part are very broad and general. They are about many aspects of society like education or health or technology, something like that. So in order to ace Speaking Part 3, you need to know a lot of vocabulary in many topics, and you need to have a lot of ideas to deal with the questions. So basically, a lot of people consider IELTS Speaking Part 3 the most difficult part of the test. First thing you need to do is try to give a long answer. Yes. Do you think that children should study art at school? I will buy me some time by saying this. Well, that is a tough question. I haven't thought of that question before. Make a list of the most common topics in IELTS Speaking Part 3 and prepare vocabulary for them. And at home, you should try to answer questions related to those topics. Try to improve your vocabulary related specifically to those topics. For example, for the topic environment, I will go to Google and search for some newspaper articles related to environmental issues and read them to gain some new words about the environment. Well, I think that Vietnam is facing numerous environmental problems right now, one of which is air pollution. In major urban areas like Hanoi, levels of carbon emissions have gone. I come from a small town. People in that small town, most of them do not even think about studying abroad. I used to think that I was in no way capable of studying abroad. And maybe I should just go to some college and settle down with a job. But now I'm planning for my overseas studies next year. What has made me change my mind? Studying abroad is now on my bucket list. The first reason is that I know about the IELTS test. The first time I became familiar with the IELTS test was 4 years ago. At that time, I needed at least an IELTS band 6.5 to be eligible for graduation. So I signed up for an IELTS preparation course in which I met a lot of people who were also preparing for the test like me. But the difference between me and them was that these people wanted an IELTS certificate to study abroad, something that I had never even dreamt of before. It was meeting with these people that sparked the idea of studying abroad in me. They showed me that studying abroad is something very common nowadays, not a pipe dream. Ever since I graduated from college, I have traveled to so many different places in Vietnam as well in Southeast Asia, and I have realized that there are so many things to explore in the world. Traveling has really broadened my horizon. It has opened my eyes to new experiences, new people, new tradition, new customs, and so on. I want to get out of my comfort zone. Whenever I think about studying abroad, I get scared. Living in a whole new place, far from my family and friends, not knowing anyone, unfamiliar with everything, it's just downright scary. Even though that I don't know for sure what kinds of problems are waiting for me when studying abroad, I still want to do it. Because that is how I grow up. That is how I can push my boundaries and become the best version of myself. And if you're new and you don't know anything about studying abroad, you should also come to ask questions and get answers from real professionals. Is how to practice speaking English at home without going to a class when you're self-studying. Well, today I'm going to show you 3 methods to practice speaking English at home and get a really high score in the IELTS speaking test without the shadowing method. I already talked about this in one of my videos. This shadowing method is a great way for you to improve your pronunciation and your English speaking accent. So basically, you just need to find a video you like, probably a YouTube video with native English speakers. You watch the video for a couple of times and then you should try to repeat exactly what the speakers have said. Record yourself. This is a method that I myself have used for my own IELTS preparation process. IELTS speaking is not just about pronunciation or, accent. It is also about ideas. Without the ideas, no matter how good your pronunciation is, you cannot answer smoothly. I chose a topic in IELTS speaking, let's say hometown, and questions related to it. And then I noted down some good ideas and jotted down some good vocabulary to answer those questions. Without looking at the notes, I opened the recorder on my phone and recorded myself answering those questions, totally relying on what I could remember from my notes, just like in the test room. I listened back to the recording to see if there was anything wrong with my pronunciation so I could improve next time. This is a great method so that you can self-assess yourself. Practice speaking English at home with native speakers using Cambly. The shadowing method and the self-recording method are great, but they have one weakness. You don't have someone to correct your mistakes, and you don't have the interaction needed when you learn English. Not only they will help you correct your mistakes, but by interacting and talking with them on a daily basis, your pronunciation, your fluency, and your vocabulary will certainly improve. When I first started preparing for the IELTS exam, I used to write out all my answers for the IELTS speaking. So basically, to make a speech flow naturally from one word to another, you need to analyze your own speech. Why the hell can I speak fluent American accent while all my life I've been here in Vietnam? I'm going to reveal why I can speak the American accent really fluently. This is because of a technique called shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you try to repeat after the speaker as soon as possible. I used this shadowing technique for like several months at first, and my accent changed completely. I used to watch a lot of English speaking videos on YouTube or TV shows, and then I tried, as quickly as possible to copy the way they talk. And gradually I have become accustomed to the American accent. You can try to apply this shadowing technique by watching TED Talks.
I have a
confession to make.
I'm a health
psychologist.
And my mission
is to help people be healthier and healthier.
But I fear
that something I've been teaching for the last 10 years
is doing
more harm than good. You see, by copying the way she talks, I have learned about intonation, when to rise and when to fall. So, can you see how awesome this shadowing technique is? I also often use this shadowing technique when watching videos of Steve Jobs presentations. I loved him ever since I was in high school. I really admire his voice, his gesture, his presentation skill, his showmanship. To be honest, I got a lot of A's back in college doing English speaking presentations, all thanks to watching videos of Steve Jobs. Finally, I always use this shadowing technique when watching US TV shows like this is because the characters on the show often speak to each other at a normal speaking pace, like the native speakers do. So it's a very good idea to copy them because they speak not too fast, not too slow. This method is incredibly, extremely, especially important in helping you achieve the perfect American accent or any other kind of accent, to be honest. So you should try to use it on a daily basis. So I got able to find this speaking test. There's a number of things involved, but pronunciation is probably the key here. So the first thing that you want if you want to improve your speaking score is to check the dictionary for pronunciation. This is a very simple thing to do, but you guys are very lazy to even open the dictionary to check how to say the word. I have always been very proud of my speaking skill, but to be honest, I still need to check the dictionary very often. And especially there's a lot of words that you think that you know how to say them, but you don't. Some of my students don't really have good speaking skill, and when I ask them whether they listen or practice English at home or anywhere else, they said they didn't because they did not have the time nor the environment to practice English. In fact, you have to create your own English speaking environment. You know, when I was a student, I had a lot of time in my hand, so I downloaded several US TV shows. I'm going to reveal how I got band 9 in the IELTS reading. Let's discuss the general strategy. What you should do first when you're looking at the IELTS reading test. So should you read the passage first or read the questions first? But I'm a very traditional and conservative guy when it comes to English study, and I highly recommend that what you should do first in the IELTS reading test is to skim the passage. So how much time is needed for skimming? Well, I suggest that when you read the passage, you have 20 minutes for the whole thing. So you spend like 5 or 7 minutes of that time. Well, trust me, because it will benefit you in the long run. When skimming, you will come across a lot of new words. Just guess the meanings. If you can't, just move on, don't worry much about them. And after skimming the passage, you will have a very general idea of what the passage is all about. Like when you read some questions and you can know exactly where you can find the answers in the reading passage. That's it. That's everything you need to know why I got band 9 the IELTS reading. That is because I know so damn many synonyms in English. So all in all, synonyms are the key to a successful IELTS reading test. So, what should you do? I highly recommend that you should come back to the reading and check on every word that you don't know after you are finished with the reading. And a lot of people just keep rushing from one reading to another in the hope of getting a higher band score. And then in the next reading, when I come across these new words again, I'm not unfamiliar with them anymore. Just skip that question and move on to the next. And then after you have gone through all 3 reading passages, come back to the first one to deal with those questions you are being stuck with. Vocabulary is a key, the savior, the ultimate factor for a higher IELTS band score. After finish one reading, you need to come back to the reading passage, search for the new words, write them down, and try to translate, make sense out of the reading passage. You should try to spend at least 10 to just 15 minutes per day reading, newspapers or online articles in English. For example, my favorite sources are the BBC, The Independent, and The Guardian. And in order to retain as well as advance your vocabulary, there's no other way but to read regularly. You don't have any ideas, you don't know where to start. Step number 1, read some good articles before you write an essay. A written article could provide you with so many good things. Some IELTS questions are really tough and difficult to understand, so with just a little reading, IELTS questions are really tough and difficult to understand, so with just a little reading, you can grab some excellent ideas to start the essay with. You can copy 1 word or 2 words, but not the whole sentence. I haven't read like 90% of them. I just buy a lot of books to look smart. I would like to talk about the very best books that I think every IELTS learner should have when they are preparing for the IELTS exam. But in order to get a higher score in the IELTS speaking and writing, you need to know more than that. So what is verbal advantage? Verbal advantage is for people who want to improve their vocabulary. And you can listen to the audio files everywhere and anytime when you are going to school, going to work, or when you are staying at home. But there is one downside to the book that I think it is only suitable for advanced learners who want to achieve a band 7 or higher in the IELTS. This book is suitable for people of all ages, from elementary to advanced. This book is aimed at helping you to improve your vocabulary in so many topics. To be frank, I highly recommend this book because it will provide you with a lot of interesting vocabulary and structures to use your IELTS speaking. The book provides you with some interesting phrases to begin your sentence with. I especially recommend this book for people who want to, better their writing and really want to and really passionate about writing. I'm gonna reveal 3 tips in which I myself have used to improve my writing for the IELTS. But before I begin, I have to tell you up front that there's no shortcut to improve your writing score. Tips are tips, but you still have to work hard for it. There's no other way. If you want to write well, you have to read well. Honestly. And I highly recommend you guys to do that as well. Try to read more in English with some online newspapers like BBC, The Guardian, or New York Times. Always try to make your writing sound natural. They often think that IELTS writing band 7 or band 8 is all about using fancy words and academic words, but no. First of all, you need to have correct grammar. These writing samples will help you a lot. They will show you how to write more naturally and help you gain more ideas for your writing. They are all native speakers and they are all very, reputable and trustworthy IELTS trainer in the world. Their writings, I greatly admire them. They are very simple and easy to understand. Keep it simple. Don't stretch yourself out with, fancy words and academic words. Forget about them. Just keep your writing clear and simple. A lot of people say that my pronunciation is excellent. I'm sorry, that's a little bit too arrogant. Actually, my pronunciation used to be really terrible when I first got to college. So you see, I get to where I am today because I practice a lot in many different ways. But there are 3 main ways that I have used to practice and to perfect my pronunciation. Exaggerate your pronunciation. When I first started working on my pronunciation, I tried exaggerating my pronunciation. I opened my mouth wider and bigger than I usually did. I spoke clearly and slowly and, correctly without omitting any sounds. The book that I love most is Harry Potter. Study the mouths of native speaker. You guys, and when I watch those TV shows, I do not just sit there looking at the screen and listen. In fact, I pay really close attention to the mouths of people in those TV shows. I try really hard to analyze their speaking and pronunciation. I try to figure out why they pronounce some words in certain ways that I did not know before. So, when I watch TV shows, I always try to notice little things like that in order to improve my pronunciation, to actively use English, not just read and listen. I speak English in so many different ways in my life. I read out loud passages. I sing in the shower very loudly. I speak English to myself whenever I'm alone. That is why my English pronunciation has greatly improved.